Well, so then, after years of negotiations, Tehran has agreed to restrictions on its nuclear program. In return, international sanctions imposed on Iran will be gradually lifted. Well, let's discuss this historic deal. With us is a former Iranian diplomat, Mehrdad Khonsari. He's now Secretary General of the newly formed Organisation for Economic Reconstruction and National Reconciliation here in London. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. Do you see this as a good deal for Iran and for the West?
I think so. I think it's the best that is possible, and anything other than that would have been absolutely catastrophic. So I think it's with a great deal of relief that this thing has come about at this time. It's
been criticised heavily by the Israelis, for example, by Republicans in the United States.
Well, of course, you know, one cannot expect anything else coming from those quarters at this particular time. But in reality, even were they to give it serious consideration, what would have been the alternative? And the alternative is much, much worse. And so I think for the people of Iran, which I consider this to be a victory for the people of Iran, because it gives attention to their priorities as opposed to the priorities of the state. And they have been able to secure that irrespective of all the adversities that has confronted them. So I think it's a good thing, and it's something to look forward to, although this opens a new can of worms in the sense as to how this opportunity is going to be exploited by the Iranian regime to further, you know, move in the same direction that it has in the course of the last 2 years.
But do you think then it'll gradually ease Iran's isolation? So not just in sort of terms of its nuclear program, but in more general terms, is the lifting of sanctions good for ordinary Iranian people?
I think so. I think so. And I think that if you look at it, the start of these negotiations has already gone a great deal to end Iran's sort of ostracization and isolation. I think that if they use this opportunity in the right way, given the opportunities that exist in the region, for example, trying to curb Shia-Sunni conflict, trying to curb the advances of the Islamic State in conjunction with the Western world and with all the civilized parties and all the regional states, there's a great deal of work that can be done. And this, in essence, sets the stage for that kind of thing. And I think that, as I said, it's how you use this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. The Iranian government has the opportunity to move in the right direction and to use whatever comes out of this in a proper way.
Well, I mean, are you saying then that you think perhaps the Iranian government will become more moderate, more reform-minded, more liberal than it has been, less hardline as a result of this deal?
Well, you have to bear in mind that the Iranian government has already moved a great deal in that direction.
But could it move further, is what I'm saying?
Yes, I think it can. The problem is not the Iranian government. The problem is about 10% of the ruling establishment that is opposed to the the actions of the Iranian government for domestic reasons. Now, on the back of this success, I think the Iranian government can gain a momentum. The government of President Rouhani can gain a momentum.
So when you say the 10%, are you talking about the religious leaders who didn't want this kind of deal?
Well, it's not just religious leaders. It's people with economic interests, people who were benefiting as a consequence of Iran's isolation, as a consequence of this nuclear project that was going on. Obviously, they will have lost ground. So they are the ones who had opposed any advances. Otherwise, this kind of agreement could have been reached 5 years ago, 10 years ago, as opposed to having prolonged it for so long. So I think the government's will, and when President Rouhani was elected 2 years ago, it was with this clear agenda to move in this direction, and I think that he will be empowered to make further strides in the same direction in the field of economic reconstruction and national reconciliation, which he himself has endorsed.
And in your opinion, was Iran trying to build a nuclear bomb, and does this effectively end that ambition for good?
I think that Iran was trying to build a new nuclear bomb. There is no other justification for the kind of behavior that they had, and I think that this action does prevent them from doing so in the time frame that has been sort of allotted. It doesn't mean that they will eternally be banned or prohibited from doing so, but for the time being, I think that objective has been achieved.
Very good to talk to you and get your thoughts and analysis. That's Mehrdad Khonsari, a former Iranian diplomat. Thank you so much for your time.